everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I'm filming today on Thursday, not Wednesday. I know, previously, I hope you don't mind me doing this because previously I often filmed. It was on Wednesday. Like I would film every Wednesday, like consistently. But lately I've kind of been chopping the days around a bit. Sometimes I just feel randomly like filming, and I just like talking to the camera. So I hope it's okay. In actual fact, though, you might still only get this on Wednesday. I haven't decided yet whether. So you might actually still get this on Wednesday because I might upload it next week, but I might upload it tomorrow. I haven't actually yet decided. But I just suddenly felt like the urge to film because it's quite therapeutic for me, like quite cathartic to film. Particularly sometimes I get an idea and I just want to talk about it to camera. Sometimes I end up actually just talking to myself, and then while I'm talking to myself, I think, actually, maybe I could talk about this to camera and get it out there and see what other people think. So that's what I decided to do. Because today it's coming up to 1:25 now on Thursday. What day are we today? What day are we today? Is it the 9th? The 9th, I think it's 9th. Yeah, Thursday the 9th. And I'm hoping to go to a group, an autism group actually, which is like a social group that is held monthly. And I haven't been to this group for like a really long time. I think it must have been over a year. Yep. A year and a half. I think that's about right, since I went. And it's held in the evening, and it's quite hard to get to because I have to travel there, and it's a bit of a slog. Part of me, like, I really don't want to go. Part of me doesn't, just because it's like so much effort. But the other part of me really wants to go because I haven't been for like ages, and I don't have a social life. I literally do not have a social life at all. I'm not very... I don't want to say not a social person, because while on the one hand that is true, like I'm not a social person particularly. On one hand, I like being on my own. I like reading books. I like following my routines because it's easier that way. Because I have a very fragile self-esteem. That hasn't always been the case. When I was a child, my self-esteem, it's hard for me to reflect on it really, because obviously you don't really think along those lines as a kid. I was certainly said to lack confidence when I was at school. When primary school teachers said I lack confidence. But I think that's actually a lot of the time because I was overwhelmed and because I didn't understand things and I couldn't follow instructions, didn't know what the hell we were doing a lot of the time, as opposed to it being a sort of lack of self-esteem. The self-esteem problem with that was as a result of my time at secondary school, which I think really kind of destroyed my self-esteem. And I'm 32 years old now, but it's taken all this time to try and restore it, and I still haven't done so. So by that I mean is that I compare myself a lot against other people. I often feel inferior. People often say, like autistic people often say when they're diagnosed, that they start to find their tribe and that they start to feel like a sense of belonging, that they can find like other autistic people that they get on with and they no longer feel alone. But that hasn't happened for me at all. That has not happened. If anything, when I'm with other autistic people, I can find that my self-esteem drops even further. Not so much online, although it does sometimes. I spend far too much time on Twitter and I probably shouldn't, but I'm kind of addicted to Twitter. They say that social media is really bad for like self-comparisons, which I know, but I can't help going on Twitter. But I think my self-esteem drops because like when you're around other autistics, particularly like a whole neurodiversity gang, they when they go on about like autism being like all positive and like the special gifts that autism gives them, and I'm like thinking, well no, that's not my experience. I don't feel like that. And I often don't share the same experiences or beliefs as like other people within the so-called autism community, which if you ask me is an imagined community because we're all so different. How can so different people, just because you've got diagnosis of autism, it doesn't mean that you're actually going to share any similarities with other autistic people or really feel at one with them. I know some autistic people do, they go on about it, like I found their tribe and all at once are like weird, but I just can't relate to that. I wish I could. I wish that could be my experience, but I just can't. And yeah, and often I find when I'm around other autistic people, let me know your thoughts on this. And I don't want to cause offence here because obviously I know that many of you watching will be autistic like me, and I know some people would accuse me of ableism, but I need to say this anyway. And I'm not intending to be ableist because I am autistic. You know, I'm autistic myself. So it's just that And I can't generalise. There's one autistic person who I've known for years who I get on with really well, and we're good friends. Even though, we don't really see each other hardly ever, but we exchange cards, and I feel when I'm with him, I sort of feel that I get on, sort of thing. But I can only say that for one other autistic person, and I often just feel really kind of like out at sea around other autistic people, because I don't know what it is, but I think maybe it's because I kind of pick up their energy. Because obviously if you're autistic, you've got your own problems and stuff, and I've got all my problems to deal with, and they've got their problems, so I tend to absorb their problems, and then it's too much for me, and I feel really down about it. And I'm not, I'm not in a depressed way. I mean, I'm not depressed or anything. Thankfully, I'm very fortunate. I've never been depressed, but it definitely has a lowering effect on my, it definitely makes me feel down and rather dispirited. And then what happens for me is I don't get depressed by it, but what happens is I end up endlessly ruminating and obsessing about it, which I think is probably because I've got OCD, and that's kind of part of my nature. I obsess a lot because of autism, and then also because I also have OCD, a bit of both, but it kind of makes me obsess a lot. So I tend to take on it, and I tend to endlessly obsess, and by that I mean I just can't let the thought go. I get absolutely fixated on it. It goes round and round and round in my head. It causes real tension, real stress. And the whole neurodiversity thing, and I'm I just can't relate to it. And when they're all particularly in a group, and you sometimes experience this kind of sense of this sort of group politics and identity politics, and people all going on about making out autism as some kind of special fandom or special income. I don't belong here. Even though I am autistic, I just feel, it makes me feel like when I was back at school, when you're just sitting on your own, and people are laughing and talking, and you feel left out. And when I'm around other autistics, I feel left out. Particularly when I'm around those who I can't relate to, like the ones who have jobs or children or relationships. I've never experienced those things. But when I'm around neurotypicals, as inverted commas, because I don't really like the term neurotypical, but I can't think of another word right now. I actually call them NAPs, non-autistic people, which I think is better. Okay, we'll stick with NAPs, non-autistic people. When I'm around NAPs who have, say, relationships, kids, jobs and stuff like that, I don't compare myself so much. Sometimes I do, admittedly, because I kind of think, I wish I could have that. But not so much, because I can explain away, they're a nap, of course they're going to find that easier, But when I'm around other autistics who have those things, I really compare myself. I think, I'm autistic and I've got this type of autism, that means I can't do those things. Or, it's not, well, certainly I can't work, and I don't think I'll ever be able to work. That's realistic, because I've got so many issues, they're not going anywhere, and that's where I disagree with the social model. No matter what society we have, I'm going to have these issues that mean I can't do conventional work. And there's also OCD, I've got other issues as well. It's not all just autism, but obviously there's a great deal of neurological overlap in the brain, and it is a brain problem. I know it's a brain problem. It's been in my brain. My brain is just, as I often say, my brain is messed up. To be blunt about it, it's true. My brain is messed up. I call a spade a spade. I don't like sugarcoating things. My brain is messed up. I often say to myself, I've got a really fucked up brain. Sorry, I don't want to swear, but, well, actually I do swear. I'm just going to say it out loud. That's what I say to myself all the time, so why not say it to camera? My brain is fucked up. Okay. So yeah, and when you're around those people, and it just makes you feel really inferior. I actually, funnily enough, and again, I know what I'm saying is controversial, and some people think I'm being ableist, but I'm going to say it anyway, because it's how I feel, and why should I be secret about what I feel? Because it's how I feel. I can't help how I feel. I'm not intending to offend anyone. I know we all have different types of autism, and I know each autistic person is different, and some people, autistic people, will be able to have relationships and work and all of that, but they'll have other struggles that I don't have, but it's in human nature to kind of compare, and I do compare, and I can't help it, because, I can't help it. But I actually find I often prefer the company of NAPs, of non-autistic people. Not all of them. Most NAPs I can't stand the company of, because they don't get autism, and that could be even worse than being in a group of autistic people, no matter how dissimilar our experiences are, because some NAPs are just so, I don't understand it at all. They can say really toxic things that really damage my self-esteem. You don't look autistic, stuff like that. Thankfully, I've never had someone tell me I don't look autistic, but I've had some people say similar stuff, like, you're socialising well right now, which kind of suggests I don't actually understand. It can make me feel really alienated, because I can appear to socialise fine, because I can act, I can mask, but for disconnect, I can't connect with people, and it feels so alienating, because I say, you're socialising well right now. Well, yeah, because I can put on a really good act, because I've learned how to do that. But that's like a foreign person in another country trying to learn a foreign language and yet never feeling part of the culture. It's a similar sort of thing. I'm never going to relate properly, and I just don't get it. But there's a small number of NAPs that I do get on with. I think because they they can kind of carry the social skills. They take the social skill burden. I struggle with social skills, but they can take it on. They kind of like make it easier for me because they have the social skills, so it's not going to get so awkward because they can carry it on. Like my support worker, for example, when I'm with her, I'm like, actually, I feel fairly as relaxed as I can be in a social situation, just with one other person. I can actually do the social stuff quite well when I'm with my support worker because it's a really controlled environment. It's the best environment for me. So when I'm with my support worker, that's probably a very rare occasion, and also. I think when I'm in some sort of like one-to-one situations with like people who are there to support me, it kind of it gets. I still don't get me wrong. I still have some tension and stress. I always do in any social situation. It's stressful, but it's a lot easier for me, and I think because I feel they understand. But I never get that from other autistic people, and so I think because I don't really have, like I said, I literally have one friend, and I say friend loosely because I sort of know on one level, yeah, he is. Most people say he is a friend, but I really struggle with the whole concept of friendship, so I often don't feel it. So it's an intellectual thing for me. But I do want more friends, but like because I often feel lonely. It's this kind of like contradictory thing. On one hand, I yearn for friendship. I really want friends, but on the other hand, I just find it so hard. And being on my own protects my self-esteem. But if I do have friends in the future, and I really hope to find some friends, but I don't think they could be autistic. And they could be. I'm not saying they can't be, because all autistic people are different. I might find someone like the guy I mentioned earlier, who I happen to get on with okay. But like, I find it easier to be around non-autistic people because there's less baggage there, and because autistics often kind of either belong to one of two camps, or often either like really against autism or really negative about it, which then rubs off for me because although I often find it quite negative being autistic, but at the same time I'm going to take on their extra energy and that's too much for me to handle. Or they're like uber positive about it and I'm like, I can't relate to this. I think that's why I get on with the guy I mentioned earlier, because he doesn't seem to be in either one of those camps. He's quite balanced, but a lot of autistic people I come across aren't. Or they have their own issues, like they rub off on me, like they might talk over me, they might talk too quickly. Obviously I can do that sometimes because it's autism, innit? But if another autistic person's doing that, I'm like, whoa, this is too much, whoa, overload. Or they speak in a monotone, or they speak way too slowly, again, because of their autism. I find that really stressful because I can't really follow them, and sometimes really monotone voices can make my brain go a bit funny and can kind of cause sort of itchy feeling. It's like, like nails on nails on a blackboard. I'm like, it's like screeching. So with non-autistic people generally, they have the social skills and they carry the social weight, and I find it far easier and more comfortable being around non-autistic people. So I think that's part of the reason why I find it hard in autistic groups, is because it rubs off on me and it can make me feel even more alienated and even more alone. It's meant to have the opposite effect. It's meant to make you feel a sense of belonging, but for me it actually has the opposite effect sometimes. So that's why it's a real effort for me to go to this group, but I'm really hoping to go today, precisely because if I don't go, I don't really have a social life, and I do need to go, and I do need to try and face my fears. This is something that's really troubling me, but I do need to face my fears because otherwise I won't have a social life. And maybe it's just my brain kind of making a song out of nothing. Well, I don't know, because it does affect me. It does, and I can't help that. But, so that's what I mean. Some people are going to say I'm ableist, and I'm not intending to be ableist, but it's just when I'm around other autistic people, this is a reaction I have. And I wanted to talk about this to camera because some of you might relate to this, but don't want to talk about it because you worry people might accuse you of ableism. But it's not ableism, it's just a genuine feeling. I can't help the feeling I have. And I don't know if other people from other minority groups experience it as well, but it might be because you already kind of got your own baggage to deal with, and then being around other people with similar issues can end up making you feel even more alienated. But yeah, I'd really like to hear what you think about this. So, do leave a comment below, and I'm going to try and film again next week. So I've got another video I'd like to do, because it's one of the two videos I'm hoping to do this week. But as I say, actually it might be, well, I haven't decided yet. I might release this before Wednesday, so you might get this tomorrow, or you might get it on Wednesday. I can't tell you yet, but I'm just warning you. You might get it before Wednesday, but you might get it on Wednesday. I can't give you an exact date, but I just wanted to do this video. So do let me know what you think in the comment box below. Okay, so thank you for watching.